So I had a film breakdown prepared today, but I'm actually going to go a different direction. This is a rant because we have to talk about the state of this Indiana Fever team, and I'm here to bring the reality to all you Fever fans. This team is not a championship team. They're not a championship team. They're nowhere near close to a championship team because every team that is a championship team can play defense. This Indiana Fever team has no defense, and that's like the farthest of their problems. Their offense looked really bad today, and Caitlin Clark obviously didn't shoot the basketball well, but I'm not going to blame this loss on Caitlin Clark, even though obviously they would have won if she would have shot the ball well. My whole
Linn Dunn just went full basketball grandma rage mode, and Stephanie White. She's now the human embodiment of a timeout. Why won't she just let Caitlin Clark cook? Buckle up. This meltdown has drama, confusion, and enough passive-aggressive sideline energy to power a WNBA arena. You need to see this.
The reason you lost was not because Caitlin Clark didn't score the basketball. The reason you lost is because you stopped doing what was working. What worked for the Indiana Fever, especially in that first half, was a pick and roll with Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. All you have to do is have a pick and roll at the top of the key. Off that pick and roll, two defenders are going to go with Caitlin Clark, leaving Aaliyah Boston to have a wide open lane. That is just the play you should go to every single possession. But how come we never go to it in back-to-back possessions? We'll go to it one possession, the next possession we don't go to it. Why not? Stephanie White, why not? It always works. Two defenders are always going to go with Caitlin Clark. There should never be a play where Caitlin Clark brings the ball off the court and then she passes it and she runs off the playoff ball.
Somewhere in the WNBA universe, the Indiana Fever's playbook has been found locked in a dusty file cabinet next to an old VHS tape labeled "How to Waste Generational Talent in 12 Easy Steps." And right in the center of this basketball soap opera, Stephanie White, holding the clipboard like it's a magic wand but casting spells that summon turnovers, not points.
This was actually one that I recorded last, and I'm like, I have a video talking about there's something wrong with the Fever and how they look defeated, everything, and I still stand by those videos, especially because some of them are reactions at the time, right after the game. So, I mean this when I say this. Fire Stephanie White yesterday. Like, fire her yesterday. And the reason why is not that Stephanie White is a bad basketball coach. It's not that Stephanie White is a bad motivational speaker. It's not that Stephanie White has done a bad job defending her players. It's not any of that. It's that Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark fundamentally have different understandings of the sport of basketball.
Meanwhile, Linn Dunn, who is supposed to be chilling in her front office recliner, sipping iced tea and watching the youth flourish, is suddenly on the warpath. Not a quiet stroll. No, this is full-blown executive side-eye with a dash of grandma fury. Because watching Caitlin Clark get treated like she's on house arrest every time the ball crosses half-court is apparently too much for even Dunn's legendary patience. It's not that Stephanie White doesn't know she has a nuclear weapon in Caitlin Clark. She just seems determined to keep it disarmed, like Clark's here on a sightseeing visa, not to run an offense. You've got a player who casually pulled up from the logo in college like it was a routine Starbucks order. Now, she's being told to pass it off and go stand in the corner like she's been grounded.
What was the game plan against her to kind of slow her down?
Well, like I said pregame, it was just to try to make everything as difficult as possible. Like, you know, Asia's one of the best players in the world. You know, you're not going to stop her. So we just needed to make it difficult, and I thought AB did. But Asia did what great players do, and they step up in the fourth quarter, and that's what she did. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is what we have to do as a staff to get her better looks, like higher quality looks. Every game plan is going to be to make her score inside the three-point line, right? And
the offense? Oh, the offense. A tragic parade of iso ball, panic passes, and just wing it energy. Watching the Fever run plays is like watching a toddler try to assemble IKEA furniture, well-intentioned, chaotic, and ultimately unproductive. Caitlin is out here begging for a screen, while her teammates are busy setting invisible picks for ghosts. It's less a basketball game and more an interpretive dance routine of confusion. So, Linn Dunn finally snapped. You know it's serious when someone in the front office stops smiling politely and starts gesturing aggressively in PowerPoint meetings. Because when you bring in Caitlin Clark, you don't hand her a jersey and tell her to blend in. You hand her the keys and say, drive it like you stole it.
8 points in a game takes some sheer incompetence from the top down. And what I saw today was sheer incompetence from the top down. Part of me wishes that Austin Kelly was the coach of this team tonight and we lost in this fashion, so I can rule out the fact that, definitely not the guy, right? I can just rule that fact out. He's definitely not it. I mean, let's get Stephanie back. I don't even have that out, right? We don't even have that out, folks. For the Indiana Fever to go an entire game where they have not scored more than 20 points, where they have a quarter where they only score 9 points, and to call yourself a professional basketball team is pathetic. To call yourself a professional basketball coach of that team is pathetic. I watched that whole game, and other than Ari McDonald, Aaliyah Boston with a moment here and a moment there, nobody made any type of memorable impact on that game.
But right now, Clark's being benched from the driver's seat and forced to play Uber passenger to a system that can't find third gear. It's not about favoritism, it's about reality. Clark is the offense. Without her, the Fever have the structural integrity of a wet paper bag. Every time she touches the ball, the court lights up. Opponents triple team her like she's hiding the secret to eternal youth, and the Fever still can't figure out how to capitalize on that gravitational pull. Meanwhile, Stephanie White seems committed to the WNBA's most confusing science experiment: how to shrink a superstar's impact to the size of a role player. You've got Clark running decoy while others toss up bricks like they're in a home improvement competition. Every missed opportunity feels like another episode of How to Sabotage a Franchise with a Smile.
So yes, the definition of Murphy's Law is anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Now, I'm being kind of dramatic here, but the Indiana Fever are down coach Stephanie White for an indeterminate amount of time. She is out for personal reasons. Stephanie White and her partner, Lisa Salters, who is also a sideline reporter for some NBA games. She is a sideline reporter for the NFL. They were both out at the same time, most recently, like a couple weeks ago. This is completely a personal reason, but there's obviously something that they're dealing with at home. But the adversity that the Indiana Fever have faced this season, I don't know that I've ever seen a team just go down so many key players and key factors to the roster. I mean, I don't know if a coach would be like...
But let's be clear, Linn Dunn didn't just wake up mad. This has been simmering. You don't draft Caitlin Clark and then treat her like a bench warmer with good posture. The crowd isn't paying premium to watch off-ball screens and fourth-option dribble drives. They came for fireworks, and all they're getting is damp sparklers and a coaching philosophy that feels sponsored by confusion. What's wild is that every other WNBA team seems to get it. They're building around their stars. They're running actual offense. Indiana, on the other hand, is still acting like they accidentally drafted Clark and aren't quite sure what to do with her. Pass her the ball? Build a system around her? Nah. Let's just let the offense flow. Spoiler alert, it's flowing straight into the abyss.
For understandings, what Stephanie White wants to do is not going to work for this team. It is not going to work for this team. What Stephanie White wants to do will not work. And by the way, I'm not saying what Stephanie White wants to do is won't work in general. Won't work in general. Because it has worked. She's had success. But I'm saying what Stephanie White wants to do will not work for this team specifically. And let's take a listen to what Caitlin Clark said. And she essentially exposed that Stephanie White wants them to play slow.
I thought...
So now Linn Dunn's irritation has gone public. She's not writing press releases. She's throwing figurative clipboards. Because when your franchise cornerstone is being used as a glorified decoy while fans scream at their TVs, something's gotta give. And that something might just be the leash on Stephanie White's coaching freedom. This isn't just a coaching hiccup, it's a full-blown mismanagement saga. The kind that gets turned into ESPN documentaries titled How to Waste Greatness Before It's Even Legal to Rent a Car. If Indiana doesn't figure it out soon, they're going to have to rename the franchise from Fever to Frustration.
From Caitlin Clark since that Connecticut Sun game. I think she is partly sick, but there are also a lot of other issues going on. She's been a completely different player. And I don't mean just missing the threes. There is no fire there. There's no arguing with the officials. There's no getting the crowd revved up. It seems like she's almost checked out, resigned herself to being less than, in order to please a coach that wants to take away Caitlin Clark's strengths. I don't know how else to describe it at this point. As you can see in this picture, I saw this. I want to share this because this just gave me flashbacks to early last season. Now, of course, Christy Sides doesn't have the ego that Stephanie White does, and she recognized what was going on and basically eventually post-break gave Caitlin Clark the keys and said, do your thing. But, does Caitlin Clark look okay? And Steph yelling in her ear, nope, absolutely, she does not look okay. And I want to start...
Because when Linn Dunn, who's basically the wise owl of this entire setup, starts publicly fuming, you know it's DEFCON 1 in the Fever locker room. Someone better unlock that offense, hand Caitlin the keys, and let her run wild before this whole thing combusts into a motivational poster for wasted potential. TikTok, Stephanie. The fans are watching. The world is watching. And now, so is Linn.